This video series will examine the history and evolution of the ancient Semitic or Hebrew alphabet from its early pictographic origins to its modern forms, as well as its adoption into the Greek and Latin alphabets. We will also investigate how these ancient pictographic letters were combined to form words, whose letters provide definition to the word itself. As a guide for these lessons, a chart is available on the Ancient Hebrew Research Center website that includes each of these letters. The name of the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Aleph. Aleph is a Hebrew word meaning ox, as can be found in Psalms 8, verse 7. All sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field. 4,000 years ago, the Hebrew alphabet was written with pictographs. The original form for this letter was a picture of an ox head, and represents the ideas of strength and power, the characteristics of the ox. This pictograph may also represent a chief or other leader. This letter has an ah sound, as in the word ox, or an as in the word elk. Some Hebrew words that begin with this letter are El, meaning mighty one, but often translated as God. Av, meaning father. Ani, meaning I. And Adon, meaning Lord. The ancient Hebrew Aleph can be seen in this rock inscription found at Serah Beit El Khadim in the Sinai Peninsula, which was inscribed about 1500 BC. Around 1000 BC, the Hebrew alphabet evolved into a simpler form that is usually called Paleo-Hebrew. This form can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription that dates to about 850 BC. This form of the letter was adopted by the Greeks and became the letter Alpha. Notice the similarity between the names in the Hebrew Aleph and the Greek Alpha. The Aleph was also written in a slightly different form, and this form can be seen on the Moabite stone, which is also dated to about 850 BC. This letter, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, became the number 1. Around 400 BC, this letter evolved again, as it appears in this scroll fragment found in the Dead Sea Caves, and is dated to about the 1st century BC or the 1st century AD. This letter is very similar to the modern Hebrew letter, as can be seen in the Aleppo Codex, dated to about 1000 AD. The name of the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Bet. Notice that the first letter, Aleph, and the second letter, Bet, form the word Aleph Bet, where we get our word alphabet. Bet is a Hebrew word meaning house, home, or household, as can be seen in Genesis 7:1. And Yahweh said to Noah, "Come to the ark, you and all your house." 4,000 years ago, this letter was written in several different forms, all representations of the outline of a tent. Much of the Hebrew pictographic alphabet, as well as its language, revolves around the agricultural lifestyle of the ancient Hebrews, who were a nomadic people. In this form, you can see the outline of the tent with the entrance here. This is the wall inside the tent that separated the men's side from the women's side. This letter represents the house, but also with and within, as the family resides within the tent. It also represents family. This letter has a B sound, as in bed, or a V sound when it follows a vowel. Some Hebrew words that begin with this letter are ba, meaning come, which is spelled with the letter bet and the aleph learned in the last lesson. Ben, meaning son. Binah, meaning understanding. And Barit, meaning covenant. The ancient Hebrew bet can be seen in this inscription found at Serabit el-Khadim in the Sinai Peninsula, which was inscribed at about 1500 BC. Around 1000 BC, the Hebrew alphabet evolved into a simpler form, usually called Paleo-Hebrew. This form can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription that dates to about 850 BC. This form of the letter was adopted by the Greeks and became the ancient Greek letter beta. Note the similarity between the Hebrew name bet and the Greek name beta, but also note that the letter is written in reverse. This is because Hebrew is written from right to left, while in Greek the letters are written from left to right, so the letter is written in the opposite direction. This Greek beta later formed into the beta we are familiar with today. Around 400 BC, this letter evolved again, as it appears in this scroll fragment from the Dead Sea Caves, dated to the 1st century BC to the 1st century AD. This letter, the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet, became the number 2. This letter is very similar to the modern Hebrew letter, as can be seen in the Aleppo Codex dated to about 1000 AD. The name of the third letter in the Hebrew alphabet, Gimel. The Greek name for this letter is Gamma, and the Arabic name is Jim. Notice that these do not have the L, suggesting that the original name of this letter was Gam and not Gimel. In Hebrew, the word Gam is a conjunction meaning also. Most Hebrew conjunction words were also used as nouns. For instance, off can mean moreover or nose. Ekev can mean because or heel. When we examine all of the words related to Gam, we find that they are all related to the idea of gathering at a watering hole. 4,000 years ago, the letter Gam, or Gimel, as it is known today, was a picture of a foot, as in walking to the watering hole. The Hebrew word gamal is a camel, camel being a derivative out of the Hebrew word gamal. A camel is also related to the word gam, as it walks to the watering hole to drink large quantities of water. This letter represents a foot, walking, and gathering. And this letter is pronounced G, as in the word game. Some Hebrew words that begin with this letter are Gever, meaning warrior, Gadol, meaning great, Gan, meaning garden, and Geshem, meaning rain. The ancient Hebrew Gimel can be seen in this inscription found at Wadi el-Hol in Egypt, which was inscribed about 2000 BC. Around 1000 BC, the Gimel was rotated, as can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription that dates to about 850 BC. This form of the letter was adopted by the Greeks and became the Greek letter Gamma. In the Latin alphabet, this letter became the letter C and the letter G.
Around 400 BC, this letter evolved as it appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This letter, the third letter in the Hebrew alphabet, became the number 3. This letter evolved into the modern Hebrew letter Gimel, as can be seen in the Aleppo Codex, dated to about 1000 AD.
The name of the fourth letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Dalet. The Greek name for this letter is Delta, derived from the Hebrew name. But the Arabic name is Dal, suggesting the possibility that the original name of this letter was Dal and not Dalet. The word Dal means to hang low, and is usually used in the sense of someone who is weak, one who hangs down low. The word Dalet, derived from the word Dal, means door, which is hung down from the roof of the tent. The Dalet is a picture of a tent door, which was a flap that hung down from the roof of the tent and allowed movement into and out of the tent. This letter represents the ideas of moving, hanging, and entering. This letter is pronounced D, as in down. Some Hebrew words that begin with this letter are Devar, meaning word, Dam, meaning blood, Da'at, meaning knowledge, and Derech, meaning road. The original pictograph of this letter changed little from its early origins to about 400 BC, and can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription that dates to about 850 BC. The same form of the letter remained unchanged into the Greek letter delta, but did change slightly into the letter D in the Latin alphabet. Around 400 BC, this letter evolved slightly and can be seen in this fragment from the Dead Sea Scrolls. This letter, the fourth letter in the Hebrew alphabet, became the number 4. It remained virtually unchanged in the modern Hebrew alphabet, as can be seen in the Leningrad Codex, dated at about 1000 AD. We have now looked at the first 4 letters in the ancient Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and Dalet. We will now look at a few Hebrew words that are derived from these letters. The word Av includes the letter Aleph, representing strength, and the letter Bet, representing the tent. Combined, these mean the strength of the tent, and is literally the tent poles which hold up or give strength to the tent, but is the Hebrew word for the father, the one who holds up or gives strength to the family, the household. The word Ga is the letter Gimel, a picture of a foot representing the idea of walking or gathering, and the Aleph, representing strength. Combined, these letters mean a gathering of strength and is the Hebrew word for pride. The word dog is a fish. This is written with the letter Dalet, a picture of the tent door and meaning back and forth movement, and the Gimel, which is a representation of a foot. The combined meaning of these 2 letters is the back and forth movement of the foot. The tail of a fish, as its foot, moves back and forth to propel itself through the water. The next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the letter He. The word He is usually translated as behold in the biblical text, but can be understood as wow, look at that, such as we might do when seeing an amazing sight and lifting up our arms in admiration and amazement. In the ancient pictographic script, this letter is a picture of a man with his arms raised up and has the meaning of look, reveal, and breath in the sense of a sigh. The sound of this letter is an H, such as in the word hello. Some words that begin with this letter are har, a mountain, hu, which is the Hebrew word for he, and he, which is the word for she. The ancient pictographic form can be found in the El Wadi inscription discovered in Egypt a few years ago and dates to about 1800 BC. This form evolved into the Paleo-Hebrew form, dating to about 800 BC and can be seen in the Temple Ostraka. This Paleo-Hebrew form is the origin of the Greek letter epsilon. The Greek letter, in turn, is the origin of the Roman letter E. The Paleo-Hebrew form continued to evolve into the late Hebrew script, such as found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is also the origin of our number 5. The late Hebrew script finally evolved into the modern Hebrew letter we know today, as can be found in the Masoretic Hebrew text of the Hebrew Bible. We've now examined the first 5 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and now the letter He. Now let's take a look at a word using some of these letters. Here is the letter He, meaning look. Now we add the letter Bet, meaning house. And we have the parent root Hav, which means look to the house. When we add the letter Aleph, meaning strength, to the front, we have the word Ahav, which means strength looking toward the house, and this is the Hebrew word for love. The next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Vav. The Hebrew word Vav means a peg, a hook, or a nail, an item that is used for attaching, adding, or securing things together. In the ancient pictographic script, this letter is a picture of a type of peg and means add, secure, or hook. The modern sound of this letter is a V sound, such as in very. But historical evidence suggests that the letter originally had a W sound, such as in walk. This letter can also be used for the vowel O, as in oak, and U, as in tune. Interestingly, words beginning with the letter Vav are very rare. In fact, there are only 3 words in the biblical text. The word Vav, meaning a peg or a hook, is only used 13 times in the book of Exodus and always refers to the hooks used to hang the curtains on the tabernacle. The word Vazar, meaning guilty, only appears once in the Hebrew Bible, Proverbs 1:28. The word Valad means child and appears only twice in the Hebrew Bible, Genesis 11 verse 30 and 2 Samuel 6 verse 23. The ancient pictographic form evolved into the Paleo-Hebrew form, dating to about 800 BC and can be seen in the Temple Ostraka. This Paleo-Hebrew form is the origin of the ancient Greek letter Wa, but known today as the Dagama, and was a W sound. However, this letter disappeared from the Greek alphabet centuries ago
and is no longer used. But before its disappearance in the Greek alphabet, it was carried over into the Roman alphabet as the letter F. The Paleo-Hebrew form continued to evolve into the late Hebrew script, such as found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it appears to be the origin of our number 9. The late Hebrew script finally evolved into the modern Hebrew letter we know today, as can be found in the Masoretic Hebrew text of the Hebrew Bible. The letter Vav is frequently used in the Hebrew Bible as a prefix meaning and, in the sense of adding things together in a sentence. While the word har means a mountain, the word vahar means and a mountain. Two other letters that we have already examined are also frequently used as prefixes. The letter bet, which can mean inside, is often used as a prefix meaning in, as in bahar, meaning in a mountain, or as we would say in English, on a mountain. The letter he, meaning to look toward, is used as a prefix meaning the, in the sense of looking towards something specific, as in Hahar, the mountain.
The next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Zayin. The Hebrew word Zion does not appear in the biblical Hebrew text, and its actual meaning is unknown. However, a cognate, or a word that is derived from the same root as Zion, is the verb yazan, and it means to feed. Therefore, we know that the word Zion has something to do with food. The ancient pictograph of the letter Zion is a picture of some type of tool or implement, and knowing that the word Zion has to do with food, we can conclude that the picture is of some type of agricultural tool such as a plow. This letter has the meaning of cut as the function of the tool, food as the product produced from this tool, and nourish, the results of the tool. The letter Zion has a Z sound. Some common words beginning with the letter Zion are the verb zachar, meaning to remember, the noun zahav, meaning gold, the noun zaken, meaning beard, but also it's a euphemism for an elder, one with a prominent beard, and also the noun zara, meaning seed. The ancient pictographic form evolved slightly in the Paleo-Hebrew form at about 1000 BC, and can be seen in this 2,000-year-old Tel Zayit inscription, which is an ancient Hebrew abecedary. An abecedary is a list of letters of an alphabet written in the order that they were used in that day. In modern Hebrew, the first 10 letters of the Hebrew alphabet are Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, and Yod. However, in this inscription, they are Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Vav, He, Chet, Zayin, Tet, and Yod. This form is the origin of the ancient Greek letter Zon, but later came to be known as the Zeta. The Greek Zon was carried over into the Roman letter Z.
The Paleo-Hebrew form continued to evolve into the late Hebrew script of about the 4th century BC. And this form became the number 7. The late Hebrew script finally evolved into the modern Hebrew letter we know today, as found in the Masoretic Hebrew text of the Bible. The Hebrew letter Zayin, meaning nourishment, combined with the letter Bet, meaning house, forms the parent root Zav, meaning nourishment of the house. This parent root is the root of the word Ezuv, which is the biblical Hebrew word for hyssop. Hyssop was used to place the blood of the lamb on the doorposts and lintels of the Hebrews' houses during the first Passover. The Hebrew word zuz is an entryway or doorway and is the root of the word mezuzah, meaning doorpost. In modern Judaism, the mezuzah is a small parchment of biblical text that is enclosed in a case and placed on a doorpost. The ancient pictograph of the letter Chet is a picture of a wall. In modern Hebrew, the name of this letter is Chet. However, as the Hebrew word Chet has the meaning of fear, and the word Chetz has the meaning wall, we can conclude that the original name of this letter is Chetz. The meanings of this letter are divide, half, and outside. And the letter Chet has a ch sound. Some common words beginning with the letter Chet are Chag, meaning feast, Chadash, new, Chai, meaning life, Chacham, meaning wisdom. The pictographic form of this letter changed a little in the Paleo-Hebrew script, which can be seen in this 4,000-year-old Tel Zayit inscription and in the 3,800-year-old Tel Dan inscription. This form is the origin of the Greek letter Eta, which is the origin of the Roman letter H. The Paleo-Hebrew form evolved into the late Hebrew script, such as can be found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Paleo-Hebrew form is also the origin of the number 8. The late Hebrew script evolved very little in the modern form, as can be found in the Masoretic Hebrew text of the Hebrew Bible. The letter Chet, a picture of a wall, has the meaning to separate the outside from the inside. The letter Dalet, a picture of a door, is the only way to pass through a wall to gain entrance to the inside. When these letters are combined, they form the parent root Chad, meaning a unit. A unit is an entity separated, like from a wall from others, but the unit is also a part of the whole, joining them, like the passing through the door through the wall. By adding the Aleph to the beginning of Chad, we have the word Echad, and means a unit, and can also mean one. This Hebraic imagery can be clearly seen in the following passage. And you, son of man, the sons of your people are speaking about you next to the walls and in the doors of the houses. And one, the Hebrew word Chad, speaks to another one, the Hebrew word Echad. Another word derived from Chad is the word Chud, meaning a riddle. A riddle is a story presented to an audience, but a twist is given in the story that cannot be understood easily. This twist is a wall that separates the listener from the meaning of the riddle. When the speaker explains the riddle, the door is opened and the listeners are united with the meaning.
The ancient pictograph of the letter Tet is a picture of a basket. Baskets were very important items among the nomadic Hebrews and were used to store foods and essential items. Another essential item for the Hebrews was clay, which was used to make lamps, vases, plaster, etc. The clay was placed in baskets for transport and use. The meanings of this letter are basket, clay, surround, and contain. In the modern Hebrew, the name of this letter is spelled Tet Yod Tav. However, as the biblical Hebrew word Tet, spelled Tet Yod Tet, means clay, it is most likely the linguistic origin of the name of this letter. In the modern Hebrew language, the Tet has a T sound. But as this letter became the Greek letter theta, it is possible that the original pronunciation of this letter was as in the word thank you, and would then differentiate the sound of this letter with the letter Tav, which also has a T sound. Some common words beginning with the letter Tet are Tov, meaning functional, or as it is usually translated, good. Taher, meaning clean, and Tameh, meaning dirty, or as it is usually translated, unclean. The pictographic form of this letter changed little from the ancient pictographic script to the Paleo-Hebrew script, and can be seen in the 4,000-year-old Tel Zait inscription. This form is the origin of the Greek letter theta. The Paleo-Hebrew form evolved into the late Hebrew script, as can be found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The late Hebrew script evolved very little as it transitioned into the modern Hebrew alphabet, as can be seen in the Masoretic Hebrew text of the Hebrew Bible. The late Semitic form of the letter became our number 6. But when we discussed the letter Vav, the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, we found that that letter was the origin of the number 9. It appears that in ancient times the order of the Hebrew alphabet was not the same as it is today. In fact, evidence suggests that there was no universal standard of the order of the letters. The Tel Zait inscription is not an inscription with words, but is an abecedary, an inscription consisting of the letters of the alphabet. In the modern Hebrew alphabet, the order of the first 10 letters of the alphabet are Aleph, Bet, Mel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, and Yod. But the first 10 letters in the Tel Zait inscription are Aleph, Bet, Mel, Dalet, Vav, He, Chet, Zayin, Tet, and Yod. The Hebrew parent root Tach is written in the ancient pictographic form with the letter Tet, meaning clay, and the Chet, meaning wall. When combined, these letters form the idea of a clay wall. Now, derived from this parent root is the word pech, meaning plaster. In ancient times, a simple form of plaster was made from clay and straw and was frequently spread on the walls of their homes to give it a smooth surface. Also derived from this parent root is the word shatach, meaning spread. When the letters ayin, a picture of an eye, and tet, a picture of a basket with the meaning to contain, are combined, the parent root it is formed and has the meaning to see and contain. As a bird of prey flies, he scans the area looking for his prey, and when it is found, he pounces on it and contains it within its talons. The Hebrew word et, written defectively in the biblical text as ed, is this parent root and means pray. Other words derived from this parent root are eta, meaning to enwrap, and et, meaning to pounce as a verb, and bird of prey as a noun. This is the 10th Hebrew letter. It is called the Yud. The name of this letter is derived from the Hebrew word yad, which means hand. The first occurrence of this word is in Genesis 3:22, which reads, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever." In the ancient pictographic script, this letter was a picture of the arm and the hand, and has the meanings of work, throw, and worship. It is possible that our word yard, Y-A-R-D, is derived from the word yad, as the yard is about the length of an arm and is similar to the Hebrew word amah, or cubit, which is the length of the forearm. While most Hebrew letters represent consonants, this letter, like the aleph, the he, and the vav that we've previously examined, may represent a consonant, the Y sound as in the word yellow, or a vowel, an E sound, like in the word queen. Some words that begin with this letter are yeled, meaning a boy, yalda, a girl, yada, the verb meaning to know, yom, which is day. Now, this letter is frequently used as a prefix to verbs. The Hebrew verb amar means say, but when the letter yud is prefixed to the verb yomer means he will say. This letter is also frequently used as a suffix to nouns. The Hebrew word av means father, but when the letter yud is suffixed to the noun avi means my father. Other letters that we have previously looked at are also used as prefixes and suffixes. The Hebrew verb asa means make, but when the letter aleph is prefixed to the verb, it means I will make. When the letter bet is prefixed to a noun, such as eretz, meaning land, we have be'eretz, meaning in a land. When the letter he is prefixed to a noun, it means the. And when the letter vav is prefixed to a noun or a verb, it means and. Around 1000 to 800 BC, the pictographic yod evolved into the Middle Hebrew, or Paleo-Hebrew letter yod. This letter can be seen in the almost 3,000-year-old Tel Dan inscription. This Middle Hebrew letter yod became this Greek letter, which is called an iota, the same name as the Hebrew letter, but with the D changed to a T. The Greek letter then became the letter I and J in the Roman alphabet. Should note that the letter J originally had the consonant Y sound, while the letter I had the vowel E sound. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today.
This is the 11th Hebrew letter, and it's called Kaf. This letter is one of the 5 Hebrew letters that uses a different form when it appears at the end of a word. This is how the letter appears when it is at the beginning or in the middle of a word. But when it is at the end of a word, it appears like this. It should be noted that this final form of the letter only appears in Hebrew in the late Hebrew script and the modern Hebrew script. The early and middle forms of this letter do not have different forms when at the end of a word. Here we have the words kol and bechor, which use the kaf in its normal form. And here we have barach and chanoch, which uses the final form of the letter kaf. The Hebrew kaf means the palm of the hand or the sole of the foot. The first occurrence of this word is in Genesis 8, verse 9, which reads, "But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot." In the ancient pictographic script, this letter was a picture of the palm of the hand and had the meanings of open, from the open hand of the palm, bend, from the curve of the palm, and tame, or subdue, through the idea of bending another one's will. A few English words that may be derived from the Hebrew word kaf is cup, cap, and cuff. Some Hebrew words that begin with this letter are kelev, dog, kofer, covering, karat, a verb meaning to cut, katav, a verb meaning to write. When this letter appears at the beginning of a syllable, such as in these examples, it is pronounced k. But when at the end of a syllable, it is pronounced ch, such as in these examples. Chachma, which is wisdom, and halach, to walk. This letter is occasionally used as a prefix to nouns. The Hebrew word eretz means land, but when the letter kaf is prefixed to this word, the word ke'eretz means like a land, or like the land. You can see this word being used in Genesis 13, verse 10. Around 1000 to 800 BC, the pictographic kaf evolved into the Middle Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew letter. This letter can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, where the phrase Melech Yisrael, meaning King of Israel, is found. This Middle Hebrew letter was reversed in direction and became the Greek letter Kappa, whose name is practically identical with the Hebrew, and this Greek letter became the upper and lower case K in the Roman alphabet. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew. The regular form on the left and the final form on the right. These letters can be seen in the Dead Sea Scrolls, where the kaf appears in the word kol, meaning all, and as the final kaf in the word haloch, meaning walking. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today. The regular form is on the left and the final form on the right. These can be seen in the Aleppo Codex from 1000 AD. The regular form appears here in the word kol, meaning all, and the final form here in the word toch, meaning middle. The 12th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Lamed. In the ancient pictographic script, this letter was a picture of a shepherd's staff, which was used to direct sheep by pushing or pulling them. It was also used as a weapon against predators to defend and protect the flock. The word Lamed does not exist in the Hebrew Bible, but there is a closely related word, Malmad, which is used once in the Hebrew Bible, Judges
3, verse 31, where it is translated as goad. A goad is defined as a stick with a pointed, curved, or bent end used for driving cattle, oxen, sheep, etc. The word malmad comes from the verbal root lamad, meaning to teach, through the idea of goading or driving another in the direction they need to go. The letter lamed has the meaning of teach and yoke. Isaiah 9:4 refers to a yoke as a staff on the shoulders. This letter also means to bind, in the sense of being yoked together. Some words that begin with this letter are lechem, meaning bread, and is the word in the place name Bethlehem or Bethlehem, the house of bread. Laila, night. Lakach, a verb meaning to take. Lavash, a verb meaning to dress or wear. This letter is often used as a prefix to nouns and can mean for, to, toward, or belonging to. Ancient seals from the kings of Israel are frequently found, and these seals always include the word le melech, meaning belonging to the king, which is spelled lamed, mem, lamed, kaf. Genesis 1 verse 30 begins, Ulcho chayta haaretz, ulchol of hashemayim, ulchol romesh al haaretz. In this passage, the letter is used 3 times as a prefix to mean to. And to all the beasts of the land, and to all the flyers of the sky, and to all the swarmers of the land. The end of Genesis 6 verse 21 reads, V'haya lecha v'lahem le'achla. In this passage, the lamed is used 3 times and means for. And it will be for you and for them for food. Many of the letters in the Hebrew alphabet have names that are one syllable, such as He, Vav, Tet, Kaf. These are parent or biliteral root words. Then there are those Hebrew letters that have names that are 3 letters, such as Aleph, Gimel, Dalet, and a Lamed. My theory, and I admit it is only a possibility, is that all of these letters originally had a 2-letter name. If this is true, then the name of these letters would have been Al, or El, Gam, Dal, and Lam. Interestingly, Lam is the name of this very letter in the Arabic alphabet. The Lamed in the pictographic script, which I call Early Semitic, but is also referred to as Proto-Semitic, can be seen in 2 places, here and here, in this ancient inscription found in Serabit el-Khadim, and dates to about 1500 BC. This inscription appears to read Mot Libaalt, which means death to the lady. Baalt being the feminine form of the word Baal. Around 1000 to 800 BC, the pictographic Hebrew script evolved into the Middle Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew script. And while many of the letters made some changes in this evolution, the Lamed remained virtually unchanged. This letter can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, which dates to about 800 BC. Here and here, in the phrase Melech Yisrael, meaning King of Israel. This Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Lambda, which originally looked just like the Hebrew Lamed. But this Greek letter later evolved into the letter used today. The Roman L evolved out of the original form of the Greek Lambda. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew and can be seen here in this Dead Sea Scroll, where it is used in the word Shalom. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today, such as can be seen in the Aleppo Codex. The 13th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the Mem, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. The word Mem in Hebrew is derived from the word Mayim, meaning water. This letter has an M sound. If you asked a child to draw a picture of water, it would probably be something like this. And this is the ancient pictographic script for the letter Mem. The letter Mem has the meanings of chaos from the storms of the sea, mighty from the immense size of the sea, and blood, which is red water. Some words that begin with this letter are Magen, which is a shield, Midbar, wilderness, Mot, a verb meaning to die, Mizbeach, altar, Malach, messenger, but sometimes translated as angel, Melech, king, Mashach, a verb meaning to anoint. This letter is often used as a prefix to nouns and means from. Here is the word El, meaning God, and the prefix Mem means from, so Me'el means from God. And here is an ancient inscription from Serabit el-Khadim in the Sinai Peninsula. And it's kind of hard to see, but I'll highlight it for you, is the word Me'el. The Mem is on the right and the word El is on the left, written from top to bottom. This ancient pictographic letter can also be seen in this inscription, also from Serabit el-Khadim. And this inscription appears to read Mot, which we learned meant to die, and Lebaalt, which means to the lady. So Mot Lebaalt means death to the lady. Around 1800 BC, this letter evolved into the Middle Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew script, and still looks similar to water. This letter can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, which is dated at about 800 BC. And here is the phrase Melech Yisrael, Melech meaning king, king of Yisrael. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Mu, which originally looked like the Middle Hebrew Mem, but evolved into the more recognizable form later. The Greek letter Mu then became the Roman letter M. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew. In this script, the letter has two forms, the normal form at the top and the final form at the bottom when it appears at the end of a word. The normal form can be seen here in the Dead Sea Scroll, and the final form at the end of the word Shalom. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter, also with two different forms. The normal form appears here in the Aleppo Codex and here in its final form. Here we have the letter Aleph, which means strong, and the letter Mem meaning water, so we have strong water, which is glue. And this is the Hebrew word Aim, meaning mother, the one who binds the family together. Here's the letter Dalet, which is a door and means to enter, and the letter Mem, which represents chaos. So we have Dam, which is enter chaos. This is the word for blood, When blood is shed, one enters chaos. Here we have the letter chet, which is a wall and means to separate. Then the letter mem, which means water. So combine these mean separate water. This is the word cham, which means hot. And heat evaporates or separates water. The 14th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Nun, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. In the ancient pictographic script, this letter looked like this. There have been 3 different interpretations of this picture. Some claim that it is a fish, others a serpent, and others a seed. The Hebrew word for a fish is dog, which is not related to the word nun. The Hebrew word for a serpent is nachash, which again is not related to the word nun. The Hebrew word nun is an heir, the offspring of the parent. It is derived from a root meaning to continue. A seed is the heir of the parent, the continuation of the plant. And this tells me that the picture is a picture of a sprouted seed. The letter nun has the meanings of continue, heir, and son. And this letter has an N sound. Some words that begin with this letter are Navi, prophet, Nahar, river, Nachash, serpent, Nafal, a verb meaning fall, Nefesh, soul, Natan, a verb meaning give. The early form of this letter can be seen in this inscription from an entrance to a mine in the Sinai Peninsula. Around 1800 BC, this letter evolved into the Middle Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew script. And this letter can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, which dates to about 800 BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Nu, which originally looked like the Middle Hebrew nun, but in reverse. This Greek letter then evolved into the more recognizable form, which then became the Roman letter N. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew. In this form, the letter has 2 forms, the normal form at the top and the final form at the bottom. The final form is used when it appears at the end of a word. The normal form can be seen here in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the final form here. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter, which also has 2 different forms that are still used today. The normal form appears here in the Aleppo Codex, and here in its final form. The letter Bet is a picture of a tent or house. The nun represents a continuation. The word Ben is a son, the one who continues the house. The Dalet is a picture of a door. The nun represents the continuation of life. The word Dan means judge, and the judge is the doorway to life. The letter Chet is a picture of a wall. The nun represents continuation. The word Chen is the wall that continues. A nomad's camp consisted of many family tents, which make up the clan camp. The camp can have as many as 50 tents or more in it. The tents are placed in a circular configuration forming one continuous wall surrounding the camp. This word is the root of the Hebrew word meaning grace. The Kaf is the open palm of the hand and represents the idea of being open. The Nun represents the seed. When the seed opens, the roots begin to form the base of the plant by going down into the soil. The plant rises out of the ground, forming the stalk of the plant. A tall tree can only stand tall and firm because of the strength of the root system which supports it. This word is the word kain, which means yes or it is so, something that is firmly supported. The 15th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Samech, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. There are a few pictographs that have been suggested as the letter Samech. They include this picture, which is suggested to be a fish. This pictograph is suggested to be a picture of a window. And this pictograph, which is the most prevalent in ancient inscriptions, is suggested to be a picture of a thorn. An alternative name for this letter is sin, which I will go into more detail when we discuss the letter shin. The word sin means thorn, and if this is the original name of the letter, it fits with the picture of a thorn. The letter sin has the meanings of grab, from the thorn grabbing and holding onto hair and clothing. Hate, the meaning of several words related to the word sin, from the pain caused by thorns. And protect, from the idea of using thorn bushes to build a temporary corral to protect the flock. This letter has an S sound. Some words that begin with this letter: sus, horse; sucha, a booth or hut; salach, a verb meaning forgive; sefer, scroll. The Hebrew word sin, meaning a thorn, may be the origin of the English word sin, as sin is like a thorn. The early pictographic letter Samech changed very little into the Middle or Paleo-Hebrew script. This letter can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, which dates to about 800 BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Xi. This Greek letter became the Roman letter X. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, and this letter can be seen here in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today and can be seen in the Aleppo Codex. The Nun is a picture of a seed and represents continuation. The Sin represents a thorn that grabs hold. This is the Hebrew word nes, which means to lift up, and based on the pictographs, has the idea of continuing to grab hold. The 16th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the ayin, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. But in the ancient Hebrew, this letter was the picture of an eye. The Hebrew word ayin, the name of this letter, means eye, as found in Exodus 21:24, eye for an eye. On a side note, the Hebrew word translated as for in this verse is tachat and means under, but is often used in the context of in place of. So Exodus 21:24 should read eye in place of an eye. The letter ayin has the meanings of watch, know in the sense of seeing and experiencing, and shade, from the act of shading your eyes in the sun. This letter is silent and is used as a glottal stop, like in the word Baal. Some words that begin with this letter are Eved, a servant; Avar, a verb meaning to cross over, and is the root of the word Hebrew. Ed, witness. Of, bird. Am, people. Oef, neck, and may be the origin of the word giraffe. Notice the similarity between the word ayin and the English word eye. Is this the origin of our word eye? The pictograph of the letter ayin can be seen in this inscription, which includes the word Baalt, meaning lady, and is the feminine form of the noun Baal, meaning Lord. The early Hebrew ayin evolved into the simpler form of the Middle Hebrew around 1000 BC and can be seen in this inscription on a potsherd, which has the Hebrew word Shema, meaning hear. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Omicron, which then became the letter O in the Roman alphabet. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today and can be seen in the Aleppo Codex. The 17th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the Pei. In the modern Hebrew alphabet, this letter has two forms. This is the form when it appears in a word, and this is the form that is used when it appears at the end of a word. In the ancient Hebrew, this letter was a picture of a mouth. The Hebrew word Pei, the name of this letter, means mouth. The letter Pei has the meanings of blow, which you do with your mouth, open, from the open mouth, edge, from the lips as the edge of the mouth, and speak, a function of the mouth. This letter has two pronunciations, the stop, p, and the spirant, f. Some words that begin with this letter are palal, a verb meaning to plead, but often translated as pray. Panim, face. Pana, a verb meaning turn, which is related to panim, the face, from the turning of the face. Pesach, Passover. Peshe, transgression. Patach, door. The pictograph of the letter Pei can be seen in this inscription from Wadi el Hol in Egypt and dates to about 2000 BC. The early Hebrew letter Pei evolved into the Middle Hebrew around 1000 BC and can be seen in the Temple Ostraka, which dates to the 10th century BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Pi. This ancient form of the letter pi evolved into the modern Greek pi, as well as the Roman letter P. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew, as we can see in the Leningrad Codex. 19th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the Tzadeh. In the modern Hebrew alphabet, this letter has two forms. This is the form when it appears in a word, and this is the form when it appears at the end of a word. The name of this letter is Tzadeh. The word Tzad, the root for the word Tzadeh, means side, but is also related to the idea of a stronghold. The ancient pictograph for this letter is a picture of a trail as leading up to a destination or stronghold, such as we see at Masada. The word Tzad may be the original name of this letter. The letter Tzadeh has the meanings of journey, in the sense of following a trail, hunt, in the sense of following a game trail, and chase, in the sense of hunting. This letter is pronounced ts, like in pots. Some words that begin with this letter are tzon, flock, tzava, army, tzaddik, a righteous one, tzadak, the verb meaning righteous, tzafon, north. The early Hebrew letter Tzadeh evolved into the Middle Hebrew around 1000 BC and can be seen in the Mesha stele dated at the 9th century BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the archaic Greek letter San, but this letter did not survive and at some point came into disuse. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew. The Late Hebrew is the first time that the two forms of the letter Tzadeh appear. In this Dead Sea Scroll, we can see the normal Tzadeh, and here we can see the final Tzadeh. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter and can be seen in the Leningrad Codex. Here is the normal Tzadeh, and here is the final Tzadeh. The 19th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the Kuf, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. This is the letter Kuf in the ancient script. What this image is a picture of is debated, but I believe it to be a picture of the sun at the horizon. The Hebrew root word Kuf is an ape, but this may be a loan word from another culture. Many of the words that are derived from this word mean encircle, gather, and shrink, which is what the light does when the sun is at the horizon. The letter Kuf has the meanings of gather, circle, and time. This letter was often written sideways as well as with a simpler form. This letter is pronounced K and is transliterated with the letter Q. Some words that begin with this letter are Kedem, which means east or ancient. Kadosh, set apart, but often translated as holy. Kahal, assembly. Kol, voice. Katsir, harvest. Kara, a verb meaning to call out or meet. The pictograph of the letter Kuf can be seen in this inscription from Wadi el-Hol in Egypt and dates to about 2000 BC. Here it is written sideways, a common practice when writing elongated letters. The early Hebrew letter Kuf changed slightly into the Middle Hebrew and was used from about 1000 BC to about 400 BC. And can be seen in the Gezer calendar inscription, which dates to about 900 BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Kappa, But this Greek letter fell into disuse and is no longer used, but is the origin of the Roman letter Q. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the Modern Hebrew letter and can be seen in the Leningrad Codex. The 20th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Resh, which appears like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. In the ancient Hebrew pictographic script, this letter was the picture of the head of a man. The Hebrew word Resh, the name of this letter, means head, and has the meanings of first, top, and beginning. This letter is pronounced with an R sound, but more guttural, re. Some words that begin with this letter are rav, many or abundant, regel, foot, ruach, wind or spirit, ra, dysfunctional, but often translated as evil, rasha, lost, but often translated also as evil. The ancient Resh can be seen here in the Wadi el-Hol inscription. The early Hebrew letter Resh evolved into the Middle Hebrew script around 1000 BC and can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, which dates to about 800 BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Rho, which became the letter R in the Roman alphabet. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the Modern Hebrew letter, as can be seen in the Leningrad Codex. The 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Shin, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. In the modern Hebrew, this letter will add a dot above the Shin. If the dot is on the right side, then this letter is pronounced sh and is called the Shin. If the dot is on the left, then it is pronounced s and is then called a sin. The Hebrew word shin means teeth, and this pictograph letter is a picture of the two front teeth. The letter Shin has the meanings of sharp, from the sharpness of the teeth, press, from the pressing of the teeth, eat, as done with the teeth. Back when we discussed the letter Samech, I proposed that an alternate name for this letter was sin. The theory is that at some point in the ancient past, some words using the letter Samech, which I believe was called sin, were also spelled with a shin, but still retained the S pronunciation. Hence the two pronunciations of the letter shin in modern Hebrew. As an example, the Hebrew word nasa means to lift up, and is spelled with what is called in modern Hebrew the samech. But this word is also spelled with a shin, but the shin is still pronounced with an S, nasa. Here are a few other words from the Hebrew Bible that are spelled with the samech and the shin. In addition, Hebrew words that are spelled with a sin in the Hebrew are spelled with a samech in the Aramaic language. For instance, the name Yisrael is spelled with a shin in Hebrew, but with a samech in the Aramaic Peshitta, a 4th century AD Aramaic manuscript of the Bible. Some words that begin with the letter shin are Sheol, the underworld or grave. Shabbat, Sabbath. Shuv, to turn back or return. Shir, song. Shalom, meaning completeness but often translated as peace. Shamayim, sky or the heavens. While not used very frequently in the Hebrew Bible, the letter shin is occasionally used as a prefix to nouns and means which or that. In Genesis 6 verse 3 is the phrase, "In that also he is flesh." The first word in this phrase in Hebrew is beshagam, which is the word gam, meaning also. This word includes the bet prefix meaning in and the shin prefix meaning that. So beshagam means in that also. The pictograph of the letter shin can be seen in this 4,000-year-old inscription from a mine entrance in the Sinai Peninsula. The early Hebrew letter shin evolved slightly into the Middle Hebrew script around 1000 BC and can be seen in the Mesha stele, which dates to about 9th century BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter sigma, which then became the Roman letter S. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today and can be seen in the Leningrad Codex. The 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Tav, which looks like this in the modern Hebrew alphabet. The Hebrew word Tav means a mark or a sign. While the name of this letter in modern Hebrew is Tav, if the Vav was originally a W sound, which we proposed when we did that letter, then the name of this letter would be Ta. In the ancient pictographic script,
This letter is a picture of two crossed sticks and is used as a sign or a marker. The letter Tav has the meanings of covenant, signal, or monument. And this letter has a T sound. Some words that begin with the letter Tav are Todah, thanks, Torah, teaching, but often translated as law, Tahom, deep, as in the deep sea, Tamid, continually. The pictograph of the letter Tav can be seen in two places in this 3,500-year-old inscription from Serabit el-Khadim. The early Hebrew letter Tav evolved very little into the Middle Hebrew script and can be seen in the Tel Dan inscription, which dates to about 900 BC. The Middle Hebrew letter became the Greek letter Tau, which then became the Roman letter T. Around the 4th century BC, the Middle Hebrew letter then evolved into the Late Hebrew, which can be seen in this Dead Sea Scroll. The Late Hebrew then evolved into the modern Hebrew letter that is still used today and can be seen in the Leningrad Codex. We have now examined each of the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, but evidence suggests that in the distant past, the Hebrew alphabet included more than just the 22 letters. One such additional letter is the letter Gayan. There are 3 pieces of evidence that suggest that this letter was originally in the Hebrew alphabet. The Arabic alphabet, which is almost identical to Hebrew, includes the letter Gayan and is placed in the alphabet next to the letter Ayin. Both the Ayin and the Gayan also exist in other ancient Semitic alphabets such as Ugarit. In the Hebrew vocabulary of the Bible, there are Hebrew words that include the letter Ayin that have 2 completely different meanings. For instance, the Hebrew word ra can mean friend or bad. Here is a list of other such words. Notice that each of the words in the right column have a meaning related to wickedness, darkness, or storm. Hebrew names that are spelled with an ayin in the Hebrew Bible are transliterated differently in the 2,000-year-old Greek Septuagint. In these Greek transliterations of Hebrew names, the Hebrew letter ayin is not transliterated, suggesting that the Hebrew ayin was silent. But in these names, the letter ayin is translated with the Greek letter gamma, suggesting that the ayin in these words was originally the letter Gayan in some distant past. In the ancient pictographic script, this letter was a picture of a twisted rope and has the meanings of twisted, dark, and wicked. While the letter ayin was a silent glottal stop, the Gayan was pronounced as some form of a G sound, possibly as in ring. In my opinion, the following words were originally spelled with a Gaian. Notice that each of these words are related to the ideas of being twisted, dark, or wicked. Gav, cloud. Gov, cloud. Gava, perverse. Got, crooked. Gaz, goat. Gakal, crooked. Gakash, crooked. The pictograph of the letter Gaian can be seen in this 4,000-year-old inscription from an entrance to a mine tunnel in the Sinai Peninsula. Then at some point in the ancient past, sometime between 4,000 years ago and when the Hebrew Bible was written, the Gaian began to be written with the letter Ayin.
Hey y'all, now that you know the Hebrew alphabet, go start translating the scripture. No, this doesn't mean anything. This is a toy, a Mardi Gras toy that I was fiddling with, and I forgot it was on my neck when I started recording. Go start translating the scripture. Oh, here's an opportunity. Here, consider it a symbol. The serpent, it's child's play to the Lord. It's child's play. He's gonna bite you. Well, you're gonna bite you. The devil is child's play to the Lord. But now that you know the ancient Hebrew alphabet, go start translating Genesis, and you'll find Jesus Christ there. I didn't... A couple years ago, I found Jeff Benner's chart with the letters that you just learned about. And I immediately took that chart and I went into Genesis and I started translating it. And there was Jesus Christ right there. And he said, "Hi, Julian, how are you?" So go do it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. You don't need the guidance of anyone but Jesus Christ. As long as you're in the Christ, then you will distinguish between truth and lies. And between Jeff Benner and John Kostick and Julian, not everything that we say is in agreement with one another. And I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to tell you what I have been shown by our Father, and to present to you what Jeff Benner and John Kostick have been shown by our Father. And he didn't show us all necessarily exactly the same thing. But both of these men introduced me to the alphabet, and now you have it. So ask the Lord for discernment, and go find the word, and go dig into it, and tell us what you see.